Hello, everyone. My name is Lucifer, and welcome to Trial of Stars. This is a game by Endices. I believe I've played one or two of their visual novels before. One of them was A Painting of a Ghost. It was a really surreal and really cool visual novel, and I recommend checking that out. I'm waiting on one of their visual novels to come out, and I believe it was taken out from download. And this was one that was fully done, so I'm playing this one. It looks really interesting. So yeah, strap in with some nachos and some hot chocolate. Great combination. I definitely have you tried that. Definitely have tried that and not lying about it right now. And that being said, let's get into it. Start in the middle. I love the little daggers. The first time her master invented her to hunt, she demurred. My lord, I had nothing to wear. I couldn't possibly join your noble companions. Not 3 days later, after morning drills, she found a red riding habit, complete with fitted doublet and long satin kirtle placed carefully by her pillow. A note scrawled on perfumed paper read, "A gift for a thoughtful girl." She tore up the note and threw its scraps into the fire, then thought about throwing the kirtle in as well. The boy she loved walked in to see it still gripped tight, claw-like in her hands. What happened? Why do you smell like perfume? Look, a gift from your thoughtful father. She laughed, then choked, then turned from him in shame. A chill swept over his demeanor in an instant. He took the fabric from her hands and threw the garment aside. What did he ask of you? To go hunting with him. What else? She shook her head. She knew his mind was already churning. We'll go hunting with him. Nothing else need happen. Okay, don't like the implications here so far. Very creepy. She sat and hugged her knees and let him sit beside her as she stared into the flames. She tried to She tried to pull all thought of it from her mind in the days that followed. But the image of that fabric, the color of spilt blood lying on her blanket, lingered like a stain. Hoofbeats fell on a shaded forest trail. They trotted along behind the main party. She on a chestnut stallion, he on a white mare. She wore the red doublet with its collar laced high. Though she'd wrapped the kirtle for a pair of breeches and tall riding boots with silver spurs, she ignored the looks from the perfumed ladies sitting side saddle who laughed and tittered like exotic birds. Their servants carried crossbows engraved with doves and roses, flasks of drink and long-winged tipped spears. She had a black short bow and quiver strapped to her back, a hunting knife on her belt, a dagger in each boot, and another tucked beneath the doublet against her breast. Her hair was too short to bother with a braid. She let the gentle wind that swept through the trees tussle it as it pleased. Are you enjoying yourself? The boy called out to her as the party cantered ahead of them. She could hardly believe it, but she was. The day was pleasant with a sigh of early spring in the soft sunlight that trickled through the leaves. She now knew what it was to train her bow on moving targets, though the thrill had quickly faded. She let her arrows run as loose as the hares that fled them. Now she lagged behind purposefully to explore the wooded trails. The boy too seemed content to meander along with her. He brought with him a pouch filled with white pebbles from the castle courtyard, and dropped them strategically to mark their path. He was always planning ahead, always thinking, so much so he never only had one eye on the present. I am, she said she, thanks to present company. And you? The mare tossed her mane and whinnied a reply in his stead. Her rider playfully urged her ahead until both pairs trotted side by side. He smiled, a warm, tranquil smile, letting his guard down just for a moment. Just for her. Thanks to present company, he echoed. The forest around them was strange and wild. 1,000 new sounds and smells surrounded them. The calls of birds she had never heard before. The musk of flowers and ferns she could not name. The two of them had rarely stepped beyond the castle's gates. She had forgotten that there was indeed a world outside it, outside the grueling routine and constant vigilance and hostility of a place where neither of them belonged. Outside the cruelty of their high-born peers. Outside the disciplining of their teachers. A knight from a long lineage who found training an orphan girl taken in on a whim. And the boy resulting from one of his master's affairs beneath him. But none of that mattered now. Not at that moment. Not in that place. The woods were a refuge from an ever-present, ever-callous reality. A place where the unfamiliar was warm and welcoming. A place where secrets could be shared as freely as musings about the weather. In no safer sanctuary could they be uttered. Soon they were indulging like they seldom had before in laughter and childish games. A truth or a dare? She asked on a whim. Truth, he replied cautiously. What's your darkest secret? What's your deepest regret? What is the most shameful thing you've ever done? Is there someone you admire? I'll go for this one. I think that's a fun one. What's the most shameful thing you've ever done? I studied my father's handwriting and wrote a mocking note to the commander in his signature. That was you? The corners of his mouth curled upward sheepishly. Your turn. What's your deepest fear? I was gonna choose a dare. Then I dare you to tell me. Ah, damn! That's smart. Very smart. To be alone, to be nothing. Ooh, I guess it would be nothing. To die accomplishing nothing. To face my parents when I cross the sunless sea with little to show for their sacrifice. I did want to play Sunless Sea. It's a fun game. And Fallen London as well. I thought I would stream it, but then now it's in limbo if it fell play because I do need to get back into streaming and a lot's been happening outside of it, and that's why videos have been not as edited recently and just college and stuff like that. So I do apologize for that. Also, I fixed my audio for quite a while. I don't know how long it's been broken, but I finally fixed it. This should be like okay now. To leave behind naught and proved I have existed. Have no fear then. You leave your mark already. What do you mean? Up ahead, commotion rang out from the trees. She imagined her master spotting a doe in the brush and taking aim with his fine crossbow, closing one rapacious rime blue eye and letting the bolt fly. The hounds woofed and howled. The horses in the distance whinnied, and the hunters spurred them into a chase. How gallant you are to pursue something that can't hope to deny you. Oh, and he's gone. Reluctantly, she tugged on her stallion's reins. We should regroup with the others. He nodded and guided his mare back to the path, following the trail of snow-white teardrops that led to the place where a chorus of hungry voices sang. Child, come and make your first kill! Her master called from the copse ahead. The boy's jaw set into a grimace as he met her. I only noticed this because I've been doing a lot of reports for college lately, but there is a space right there, or there should be like tabbed inside a little bit, you know? That's not in line. I should not have noticed that. She broke his gaze in that instant, pierced by a sudden stab of shame. She knew him for his calm expressions, his subdued smiles and gentle grace. But moments would always come, like now, when it frightened her to stare back at his cool, deep, rime blue eyes. Though he kept his hair long and loose instead of cropped and tamed, though he wore simple clothes instead of fine furs, though he was gentle and pious in everything his sire was not, the boy she loved was still her master's blood. It twisted her gut to know that the eye of whose gaze she dared not meet was identical to the one she wanted to trace every inch of her. Once more her master called. She raised her head to look at the boy she loved. His windswept hair framed his face like a shroud. His hands clutched his reins so tightly his knuckles were stark white. His gentle blue eyes was wide as the moon. It stared at her, bored into her, pleading. I cannot do what my father asks of me, but worse will come if I disobey him. Her master called again, a third and final time. Then I will do it. I'll race you there, she said, and spurred her steed on. Okay, she galloped past, leaving him behind on the shaded trail. That's some deep, dark, scary woods right there. The party retired that night to a feast of wine and venison. Her master bade her drink with him. She had not the courage to refuse. She had her seated at his right and his son. In a red display of acknowledgement at his left. I must get water. I'll be back. I must get water. Sorry about that. Something was stuck in my throat. I think it's still there, but I have a glass of water with me now. He had her seated at his right and his son in a red display of acknowledgement at his left. Both dipped their heads ostensibly in reverence. Neither felt joy at the honor. A fine effort from a fine new huntress, he said as he devoured the flesh of her kill. She thought about slitting his throat with her hunting knife and watching his blood spill like wine, staining his satin doublet and fine black furs. She imagined crushing his skull beneath her long riding boots, flecks of his blood coating her heels and shiny silver spurs. Yeehaw, cowboy time, yeehaw. She indulged her fantasies as freely as her master did his goblet. In the firelight, her ruddy hair and red riding habit glowed like a flame. She watched the embers lick the sky, her eyes lit bright as wolves in the dark. As a wolf's in dark, she dared not meet the boy's rime blue one, staring at her from across the chasm of their master's mountainous shadow. When at last the moon rose high and the fire drew low, she excused herself. The boy followed her. She acknowledged him with a casual nod but did not meet his gaze. The two of them stood silently, watching the lonesome sky above the wood. He had hardly spoken a word all evening. Now he said, "How can I be like you?" She finally turned to face him. "What do you mean? How am I to be a knight?" "You have a mind for tactics, and your swordplay is second only to mine," she teased. "How am I to kill?" She didn't answer. She didn't want to think the words. When there is something you abhor with every fiber of your being, and the choice is to bloody your hands or to be consumed whole. Ooh, very picturesque. When you have no choice, when there's something you must protect. Ooh, red and white. Ooh. Alright, I guess I'll go with the protect one. There was no right answer for that. I would have gone for either one. They're very good answers. When you have something to protect. Very, very pretty. She finally said. A pretty thought, one that might soothe a chivalrous heart. But the boy she loved was not a child any longer. And neither was she. His name day was 2 moons past. Hers would arrive with the dawn. I do, and yet. He trailed off with a sigh. He hardly ever breathed without thinking it over twice. Sometimes his thoughts entangled his mind. In his mind, so deeply his true feelings could never be free. Not unless she cut them loose like a string. Stab, 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 stab! The magic of the woods had run dry. The bows no longer sheltered them with their sanctuary. But the stars sparkled above, painting the night sky. It was no longer a time for games or secrets. but perhaps it could be a time for dreams. What will we do when we've become knights? What will we do when we become knights? She prodded him gently. A silly question. They would ride off to war in her master's name. They would kill and they would suffer and then they would die, their arms and backs covered in scars. Let me be your page, my lord. You, a girl. My treacherous and ignoble father was still a knight. He trained me as his heir. I can use a sword. I can fight. The choice between armor or rags seemed trivial back then, but now she knew they were the same. A life covered in blood or soiled in dirt is still a life in chains. We'll go riding across the ice, he replied. We'll find the names for every star. We'll joust in the golden city of the south at the king's name Day Tournay. You'll win without fail, he went on, listening dozens of beautiful and wondrous things that perhaps deep within, some small sliver of him still dared to dream of. But reality's gonna strike hard. She imagined him standing in steel and mail on a battlefield over corpses, iron and rust staining his armor. She imagined reaching towards him with a filthy gauntlet. Oh my gosh, that's very filthy. Dripping in red. Here, away from the firelight. Very adorable. That's not as red as now. She was not a knight or a huntress. She was small and broken once again. She was a feeble thing hiding in her room against the door, listening for the tap, 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 tap of the secret knock they shared. We'll do it all together. She shifted towards him. Ooh. And he to her as she listened.
This is very adorable, very, very adorable. Also very sad and really, really, really sad, but also very adorable at the same time.
But it was her own heartbeat in her ears, not his voice like warm velvet. He was so close now. Very, very, very close indeed. So close that he can almost
feel the subscribe button on your cheek that you gotta press.
She could see the moon's reflection in his rime blue eyes. Ooh. Okay. She leaned her head against the crook of his neck and closed her eyes, the way she had when they were children. His soft hair fell over her cheek and trailed down the collar of her blood-red riding habit. She imagined tearing it off lace by lace, stripping off her knives, boots, breeches, and hose before him, meeting his mouth with hers as he tore her linen shift of her skin. His closeness was the very last defenses of her mind and wine-loosened tongue. She let slip 3 careless words. I brozone you! And a spell that could never be unsaid was spoken. Immediately he shifted away. The half of his face turned pale as the moon. I'm not worthy of you. Don't go down that thought. You are. I'm a coward.
You're not.
My father condemned yours. You didn't choose to be his son. Very, very adorable. Very adorable, very sad. All of the emotions. This is awesome. You can choose better.
I choose you.
I want you. I want you to want me too, but I can't lose what we have. Alright, there you go. I guess I'm gonna be selfish now. I need you as much as I need the blood in my veins and the beat in my heart. You're all I have and all I want. Tell me you feel the same way. Please. He stared at her in silence. She looked for anything any sound she could make to shatter it. A small clatter did. His pouch string had come undone. A single pebble slipped and rolled to the ground at her feet. He knelt to pick it up. It twinkled white as a star. Without thinking, she reached towards him, perhaps to help him up. For a moment, her hands flashed red as rust in her mind's eye. She stopped as if she might irreparably stain him if she touched him. But then he lifted his head, looked into her eyes, took her fingers and raising her hand, brought it to his lips.
Very adorable.
She was petrified. A chaste kiss. It felt anything but. It brought heat to her cheeks. This is very, very adorable and awesome and just great and cool, and he has a scar on his face. That makes him an anime character, anime protagonist. She felt as scarlet as her riding clothes. Ooh, more detail, that's so cool. His lips lingered on her hand.
It's getting cooler by the second.
His breath warm and gentle on the back of her fingers. His grip holding her firm as if he might never let go. This is awesome. Oh. She felt as bare as if she were naked before him. She could not and would now never be able to hide the claws that had killed in his name. She pulled away. Instantly, the spell that transfixed them was broken. She didn't know what to do, what she wanted. That single touch was both too much and not enough, not nearly enough. She pulled him close as he rose and took her in his arms. Her chest felt tight. The knives tucked beneath her doublet jutted against her ribcage. She closed her eyes and saw bloody handprints cover the throat and face of the boy who once loved her. He held her head against his chest. Strands of his hair fell once more over her cheek. Remnants of iron and wine lingered on his breath, staining her skin. Her face burnt like a brand. With bare fingers, he stroked her ruddy hair. In the fading light of a dying fire, her locks were as red as freshly spilt blood. She would remember the day for many reasons, but most solemn of them all. It was the first time she'd ever killed for him. Also, he looks like Sephiroth. I mean, with the long hair that goes like whoop. That's Sephiroth. This is Sephiroth, but fantasized. It would not be the last. But for now, in that moment, burning in each other's arms, they were safe. Ooh, the moon! Oh, woo! This, I really like how they've brought the expression out. It's just simple, just simpleness, you know? That's good. And that's the end? No! No! Oh, that's great. That was great. Music by Endices. So the music was done by Endices. That's awesome. Or Endices. I'm not sure. But that was awesome. I also want to learn how to make music. This is great. And it changed. Awesome. I don't know if there are more endings to this, but I will let you go through it. I'm going to do the rule of D&D here, which I've only broken once or twice, but in general it means going through all the choices you made and sticking with them, because I think that brings out the most in a book or a novel like this. I know visual novels are also about, you know, going through the choices and seeing all the other options, but that was beautiful. And I'm sure there was an option where they would have not accepted their love, obviously, with the two options that there were there. So yeah. That was beautiful. I do like Endices' work. Like, this was very like poetic at times, apparently so with the rhyming and all that. Plus the words and narration was just top notch. Awesome. I love the way Endices writes their words and stuff. And the art was also great. The music was like on point. A lot of visual novels like miss with the music because they find something that just sort of fits, and they just put it in, or something that doesn't fit at all. But the music and the art really like have to like be together to make an amazing scene, and this was that. This was amazing, and I hope you had an amazing time watching this. There will be more entices on this channel because I think there's a bigger game coming out, a bigger visual novel, and I'll see you there for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye.